Dear participants, now we have with us one of our distinguished faculty member, Ms. Amandeep Kaur, who is basically a chemical engineer, but she has developed a new skill by joining the NITTTR in the allied fields like engineering management, engineering education, and education management, communication skill, and many of the allied soft skill fields. She has obtained a very great expertise, and we are really proud of Madam. And she has delivered the MOOC in the communication skills, which is actually the part of AICTE NTTT module, and that is very highly received module. There are more number of learners who have been enrolled for that module, and she is an voracious reader as well as a great speaker also, and we are very happy. And she loves to actually experiment on different aspects of education, technology, and pedagogy, and many other things. As a result, she has done a good number of research, and she has prepared this topic especially for this flipped and blended learning classroom. And Madam, thank you for your cooperation, and we hope definitely your presentation will help the participants to adopt in their daily teaching learning process. Madam, thank you for accepting our invitation, and it is over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. KG Srinivasa sir, for such a kind introduction. Very good afternoon to all the participants connected with us for this program. As from the title of the program, it is clear to all of us that when it comes to a blended teaching and learning approaches, or maybe a subset of blended learning, that is a flipped classroom. So in these type of classroom structures, we need different kind of strategies to engage our learners. So it is not a traditional method by which a teacher is delivering most of the information to the students, and students are just assimilating that information by listening to that faculty. So when it comes to a different kind of pedagogical approaches that we need to develop and use for our classroom structure, especially for these blended and flipped classrooms. So these kind of strategies are covered under the umbrella term of active learning. Active learning is basically divided into three different types of teaching strategies. The very first is individual learning strategies, second is cooperative learning strategies, and collaborative learning strategies. So in this particular session, we will provide you an overview with what are the different individual, cooperative, as well as collaborative learning strategies that the teacher can adopt when he or she want to engage learners with the help of a blended approach. So as the name suggests, active learning means my major objective to engage my students in the process of learning. So according to the famous saying, Benjamin Franklin said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me I may remember, involve me and I learn." So when it comes to produce a learning environment in a classroom situation, I want my students to engage in a process of learning. It means we want my students to do, excuse me, Manisha. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
There's some kind of disturbance, Manisha.
Yes, ma'am. I have muted the participant. Prasad Joshi, please do not unmute your mic. Please continue, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So when it comes to engage our students in the process of learning, our major objective is my student need to do something while they are sitting into my class. So if I tell them, means if I'm using a traditional lecture approach for my student, they are just listening to the content delivered by the faculty, and as time proceed, maybe some of the information they are not able to retain. When we are spoon feeding information, teach me means when I'm spoon feeding information in the head of my student, there are possibilities that they are able to remember by doing some kind of practices that has been designed by the teacher for them. But when the student take initiative while sitting into a class, do something, practice something, and the faculty is there to facilitate the process of learning, to provide feedback to the student, in this case, the students are able to learn more because we engage our learners actively in the process of learning. Albert Einstein also said, any fool can know, the point is to understand. So when it comes to remembering, means the information is already available with the students. So when the information is available with the student who know how to read, write, that student is able to read that information and that student is able to remember that information. The point is, we need to develop higher order thinking skills among my student. When the student is able to remember something, and after understanding that concept, when they are able to apply that thing, only then it is possible for them to do something more advanced as and when desired by the faculty. So rather than focusing just on remembering, our main objective is my students must able to understand whatever content I am going to deliver. So from these two sayings, it is very much clear to us that in teaching learning processes, our major objective is to engage the students in the process of learning. And that is why there is an approach that is known as active learning. So when it comes to teaching, teaching is a combination of teacher and students activity supported by the best available resources to produce an atmosphere where learning can take place. When you come across the various models of blended learning, you come to know that blended learning is a mixture of face-to-face teaching as well as integration of technology in various teaching learning activities. So when it comes to teaching, teaching doesn't mean that you need to buy all kind of fancy resources for your student. You need to develop an advanced kind of infrastructure facility for your students. Only then it is possible for you to use these advanced pedagogical approaches, whatever available resources you have. At institute level, you need to evaluate what kind of resources you have. According to that, you need to select an appropriate blended learning model by which it is possible for you to support the student activities that is designed by you. So whatever the resources the teacher have, according to that, the teacher need to produce an environment for the students. So when it comes to teaching, teaching must be equivalent to learning. So teaching and learning goes hand by hand. So when the teacher is preparing for the content, the teacher need to make ensure that whosoever is sitting into my class, or even if the student is at present sitting in a remote location, as and when desired by the student, it is possible for the teacher to help that student by using all kind of existing resources. So in this particular century, our purpose is to facilitate the process of learning. So by which mean my student demanded, or by which mean my institute desire to make that process happen. According to that, the teacher make to have some conscious decision that what kind of infrastructure resources I have, what level of students I'm going to teach. According to that, if the teacher is producing such kind of environment for the student, it is possible for us to create equivalent amount of learning after teaching the whole concept to the students. According to the principles of effective listening, teaching also, it is said, encourage student-instructor contact, encourage cooperation among students, encourage active learning, give prompt feedback, emphasize time on task, communicate high expectations, and respect diverse talents and different ways of learning. So whatever the principle you have extracted from the different literature resources I come across, from those resources, I come to the conclusion that when it comes to an effective teaching approach, basically it is an interaction between a student and a teacher, the kind of environment that is being created by the faculty for the student. Say for example, rather than designing a lecture approach or lecture method for my class students again and again, I can divide my students into teams, I can divide my student into group, and now I need some of the teaching strategies by which it is possible for me to engage my students in the process of learning. Say one of the faculty members said that my teaching approach to teach my group of students or to the team of the student is a group discussion method. But dear participants, when it comes to group discussion is a very good approach for the development of different soft skill among students. But it is not possible for us to teach a technical subject, to teach a core subject of their area with the help of this group discussion technique. It means I need a different kind of teaching strategy that I can use for my student, and it is possible for them to cover that content. So my objective as a faculty is my students need to complete their syllabus within the defined academic calendar within that particular semester. So it means group discussion is a method where it is possible for me to develop different soft skills among my student, know what kind of teaching approach is there by which it is possible for me to cover my content. So according to the literature, there are approximately 101 teaching methods available with the faculty to teach student. But unfortunately, in our Indian technical education system, most of the time we are engaging classes with the help of lecture method only, and some of the institutions started using cooperative and collaborative learning strategies. They are using case study method, they are using role play method. Some of the institutions even created very creative spaces for their student. But at institute level, I need to evaluate what is the results of those teaching strategy. Is my faculty trained in all those kind of aspects of using these kind of teaching strategy? So that is why this particular session will provide you an overview of what are the different cooperative and collaborative teaching strategies that the teacher can utilize in a class as far as various technical students are concerned. So when it comes to learning, learning results from what the student doesn't think and only from what the student doesn't think. The teacher can advance learning only by influencing the students to learn. It means we cannot force our student to listen for maybe 45 minutes or for 55 minutes. When it comes to immature learners, when it comes to students of my classroom environment, my student need to think about that topic. My student need to apply something to that delivered content. My students must be able to understand what I'm trying to convey to them. So it means your classroom need to be full of activities where most of the students will perform that activity and think about that how they are able to do this kind of an activity. So teacher need to create an influencing environment for the students. That environment compel the students to do something while sitting into a class. And learning is a process of acquiring and integrating through a systemized process of instruction or organized experiences varying from of knowledge, skill, and understanding that the learner may use or apply in a later situation and under conditions different from those of the instruction. So when it comes to learning, it according to the definition, it's a systemized process of instruction. So my purpose is to organize different kind of experiences for my student. Those experiences can be on the basis of the development of their cognitive area. Those experiences need to be related to the psychomotor area of my student, and my students must be able to behave. So their behavior also need to be modified at institute level. Now, when we are delivering classes for our last blended and flipped learning approach course in the last week only, many of the participants asked that whether it is possible for me to develop skill among my student, specifically on an online learning environment. So the best example for that is, say for example, you want your student to develop psychomotor skill, you want your student to perform something, or XYZ faculty want their student to perform a practical activity that is given in their syllabus, but due to this pandemic situation, it is not possible for the student to come to the laboratory. So it is very much possible for us to create such kind of experiences for our student. So I'm saying experiences for my student according to the willingness of that candidate. If the infrastructure resources are available, the student can perform that activity by his or her own. Say, for example, in a lockdown period, many of us know how to cook something. Many of us are able to do something just by watching different YouTube videos. So that is a procedural kind of information that is being provided in that video, and by following step by step instructions given by that person, we are able to perform something by without the help of that person, even without the presence of that person. So what I just have a small YouTube video. After watching that video, I am able to do something by my own. So it means when it comes to a development of cognitive ability among my student, it is very much possible for me to develop self-learning modules for my student where practice tasks are already embedded, and when I am able to apply I am able to provide those self-learning modules to the students who are sitting at a remote location. By reading that content only, it is possible for the student to develop their cognitive understanding. When it comes to psychomotor development, if the teacher is able to record a good video related to that laboratory experiment, explain that activity step by step to the student, and maybe with the help of some advanced technology, nowadays augmented reality is there, virtual reality is there. So if that kind of experiences or that kind of things are not available with the teacher, even with the help of a small recorded procedural video, the student may not be able to practice, but it is possible for the student to hello. So it is possible for the student to at least understand that how this practical activity is going to be solved, how this practical problem can be solved by us by using different kind of approaches. So on an online learning environment also, it is possible for me to organize such kind of experiences for my student. In terms of psychomotor ability, it is not possible for the student to perform something. It is not possible for the student to develop application kind of skill, but at least up to the level of remembering and understanding, I am able to provide some information to my students. So learning, we consider that learning will happen only my student is able to perform something by his or her own in a later situation, maybe in a word of work, or maybe to solve a real-time problem. If my student is able to apply that learned knowledge, only then we consider that learning is happened. So when it comes to a genuine learning is active and it is not a passive. Student will learn what they care about and remember what they understand. One must learn by doing the things, for though you think you know it, you have no certainty until you try it. When learning is active, the students will do most of the work. So when we involve our students in the process of lecture method, where the teacher is delivering all kind of information to the students, in an initial 10 minutes, maybe my students are active, but as the time proceeds, their retention of information is going to be decreased. So in a lecture method, in a traditional lecture approach, we consider that all the students are a homogeneous mixture. Their past experiences are same, their level is same, their maturity is same. And I'm delivering my information, I'm delivering a content information by considering them as a homogeneous group. But the retention of information is going to be decreased substantially after 10 minutes. So according to the research, when we are using a traditional lecture approach, in the first 10 minutes, the retention of the material is up to 70%. But as the lecture proceeds, in the last 10 minutes, the retention is approximately up to 20%. This is in a case when your lecture duration is of 50 minutes. So after 50 minutes, if I'm just using a lecture approach, my students are not able to understand the kind of information. Some of the students are physically available in the class, but mentally they are not available with the faculty. So that is why there is a demand of different active approaches. So as we earlier discussed, when it comes to active learning means my students need to perform some of the activities in which they are involved, in which they are practicing, maybe in the presence of the faculty or maybe in the absence of the faculty. So any teaching strategy, any instructional method that help me to engage my students in the process of learning is considered as an active learning. So my first question to all of you is, do you consider think that it is possible for me to change my lecture method into an active lecture? So any participant can reply. So thank you very much, the participants who are replying for this particular statement. So some of the participants said maybe by the use of quiz, maybe by asking questions, and most of the participants agreed that it is possible for me to engage my students in the process of learning even by using a traditional approach. After lunch, when we are going to discuss what are the different blended learning models available with all of us, that we can use for our class student, and in most of the methods there is a requirement that the teacher will provide direct instructions to the student. Sometimes the information is very much new for the students. Maybe that student come in a contact with that kind of information for the very first time in his or her life. The information can be complex, so for that kind of information the teacher need to provide direct instructions to the student. So it is possible for us to change our traditional lecture into an active lecture by the use of different individual teaching strategies. So why we are in the process of using active learning strategy? It is said that behind every good teacher is an exhausted class. Maybe my knowledge is very high. Maybe I am reading 100 different books on a given subject. But if I am delivered to fail that information to my students or my class will end up into an exhausted class. Give a man a fish, you have fed him for today, and teach a man to fish, and you have fed him for a lifetime. So whenever we want our students to perform something, when I want my students to learn something, it means as a teacher, I need to create activities for my students. So while performing those activities only, it is possible for the students to understand what is given in that content. So our purpose is to design activity for the students in which they are engaged fully, and it is possible for them to do those things independently in the time to come. Business and industry have clearly advocated that in today's education system, there must be a place of teaching students to become team members, to share resources and talents, and to acquire different social skills that help them in a workplace. So our business and industry environment is also advocating the same thing, that rather than only developing and focusing on a technical skills among our students, there is a requirement of the world of work that your students, your technical students, must equipped with some sort of soft skills. It may be a communication skill, it may be creativity, it may be time management, it may be other skills related to this particular area, because nowadays the work culture is changing at a very fast rate. There is a flexibility in a work culture. Nowadays, we as a faculty also working on an online environment, and the senior faculty members of this education system, maybe initially it is difficult for them to understand that how to operate. But as we proceed, it is possible for us to provide a comfortable environment for our students by using simple resources also. Another major requirement of the world of work is the development of different social skills. So when it comes to the different cooperative and collaborative strategy, the teacher will divide the students into number of teams or different groups based on their level of understanding. And when the students are working in teams and group, it is possible that their social skills are going to be developed. If the learners are immature, the teacher will divide those learners and use cooperative learning strategies. But if the learners are mature, the teacher is going to divide those students and use different collaborative learning strategy. As we have earlier discussed that many of the faculty member on different platforms said group discussion is an instructional method to teach. But for our technical students, we need to think practically that it is possible for me to teach my students a subject of mass transfer or a subject of heat transfer, or maybe a theoretical subject that is total quality management or human resource management. Is it possible for me as a teacher to develop that kind of a skill among my student that during the group discussion it is possible for them to cover the content? It is practically not possible. The purpose of group discussion teaching strategy is somewhat different. Many of the faculty members said that yes, we are using a seminar method. We provide PowerPoint presentation to our students and students will present. With the help of PowerPoint presentation, the students are not only developing a content information, but at the same time, their presentation skills, their communication skills are going to be developed. But again, if a subject is of numerical by nature, it is not possible for me to provide a simple activity to my student that you have to present information. Maybe for other subjects it is implemented, but as a teacher I need to understand what are the different strategies available by which it is possible for me to plan my course so that if I can design a blended or a flipped classroom for my students. So when we provide opportunity to our students to work in team or groups, it is possible that within that group the students must develop such kind of a skill that they are able to perform those activities in future also alone, not in a group. What is most effective method of teaching? In 1986, one educationist declared that when the students are teaching other student, it is a most appropriate and effective teaching approach that need to be used by a teacher in a classroom situation. So according to the type of a subject you have, you need to select an appropriate teaching strategies, and we need to provide opportunity to our students to interact with each other so that there is a development of different hard skills among my student, and at the same time there is a development of different soft skills also. That is a major requirement of an industry. So within the class it is possible for me to create such kind of an environment. So why there is a need of different active learning strategies? So the four major elements of different active learning strategies are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So according to the definition, the students are simply more likely to internalize, understand, and remember material learned through active engagement in the process of learning. It means my class need to be full of activities where my students try to internalize that information, they are able to remember the material, and they are able to understand also. So it is possible for me to develop lower order thinking skills among my students within the class itself, when rather than providing information again and again to my student, I design activity where students while practicing those activity will gather all kind of information. When the students are allowed to talk and listen. So the very major skill that is required as far as various blended classes are concerned, we need to provide opportunity to our students to interact with each other. At this point, the teacher need to be observant enough. When I said we need to allow our students to talk and listen, that talk and that listening is related to that content matter only. It's a hint provided to all of us that there must be opportunities where the students need to interact with each other, maybe for sharing of ideas, maybe for implementation of ideas, or maybe for developing understanding of that particular content. There is a requirement of talking and listening that need to be happened in my class. When we provide activities where students read that information. So when the students are reading that information, the students are trying to collect information related to that particular subject. So maybe in a practical class, there is a printed manual available at your institute level, and many of the students are able to read that printed manual within the lab itself. But beyond that printed manual, as a faculty, I need to provide opportunity to my students that you have to identify what are the different ways by which it is possible for us to solve this kind of a problem. What are the different experimental ways by which this particular problem can be solved? So maybe by providing them simple research articles or journal articles, my students, after reading that content, able to identify and different ways by which it is possible for them to understand that not only this method, but there are different approaches also by which it is possible for us to perform this experiment. So when I provide opportunity for my students to read, when I provide content to them to read, only then they are able to understand, they are able to advance their information collected. I need to provide many of the activities for my students to write. So when it comes to writing, many of the faculty members said there is a requirement by AICT that we have to provide 3 different assignments to our student, and out of those assignments, 2 best will be considered for their internal reward. So when we said writing, there are strategies, there are many collaborative strategies where students are involved in the process of writing while understanding a new information. So that kind of opportunity need to be provided to the students, and they reflect as they approach the course content through the problem solving exercises, informal small group discussions, simulations, case studies, role playing, and other activities, all of which require students to apply what they are learning. It means I need to create opportunities for my students where they listen, where they speak, where they read. So that is why it is being said that if we are using a lecture method approach, only a 30% of the lecture is being delivered. Only the amount of information that is being retained by the students is only up to 10 minutes. But when as a teacher I'm using different approaches for my class student, it is possible for my students to retain that information for a longer period of time. So my purpose is to initiate such kind of an activity. So whatever cooperative and collaborative learning strategies we are using for our class students, the purpose is to engage the students in the process of different activities. They will be more involved than a passive, and there is a great emphasis placed on the exploration of attitude and values. When I said the students are working within the team or students are working within their group, so it is not only the cognitive and psychomotor skills that we are going to develop when they are interacting within the group or in the team, and immediate feedback from the teacher. So it is not that the teacher is going to spoon feed that information. The teacher is also creating opportunity when the students are working within that class. So when the students are performing that activity, the faculty is always there to help that student. The faculty is always there to guide that student. So immediate feedback is being provided to the candidates. When we are using different cooperative and collaborative strategies, in this particular case, the teaching approach is considered as student-centered approach. So teaching is developmental rather than directive. So that is why we are in the process of knowing what are the different cooperative and collaborative learning strategy. So whenever we are designing our active learning classroom, there are 2 major things that we need to consider, that whosoever sitting in my class, those are different. So different people learn in a different way. Maybe in this particular course, you come in contact with the information where you are able to understand that what are the different types of learners. So according to the variety of the learners, hello,
Yes, ma'am.
hello,
Yes, ma'am.
Manisha, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay. Diversity of learners who are sitting into my class means each and every student will learn in a different way. So depending upon the diversity available in my class, I need to design my teaching. I need to engage my day-to-day classes by using different teaching approaches so that it is possible for me to cater the needs of that diversity. So maybe there are verbal learners, there are visual learner, there are learners who are connectors. So those kind of learners, we need to introduce different varieties in terms of our instructional strategies. So learning by nature is an active endeavor. So when it comes to learning, learning is always an active process. There is no learner whom we consider as a passive learner. In some of education literature, this term is used again and again, passive learner. So maybe their activeness may be a bit smaller, but whosoever is in the process of learning, that we consider as an active agent
Hello,
of that
Amandeep,
process.
ma'am.
So when we said learning by hello,
Hello.
yes,
Yes, participants, I'm trying to get in touch with Amandeep, ma'am. Hello.
Ma'am, we are able to hear.
In the meanwhile, while ma'am, I have a word with ma'am. I'll just share the attendance link for the morning session. I'll repeat, I'm going to share the attendance link for day 2, session 1, the morning session. You're requested to mark your attendance only once. Hello, Amandeep, ma'am.
hello. Yes, Manisha, am I audible now?
Hello.
Hello.
Did break a bit in between. You are
Wait a
audible now,
minute.
ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am, you're audible now.
fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Learning by, we were discussing that learning by nature is an active endeavor. As we have earlier discussed, that to create a learning environment, I need to create activities for my student. Say there is a machine that is in your lab. By reading that manual only, it is not possible for a student to operate. Or maybe if the lab instructor is using that machinery for the very first time, that lab instructor also needs a demonstration session by the industry whosoever provided that machinery. So when we practice things, only then it is possible for us to understand. So maybe I need to develop some sort of higher order thinking skills among my student. I want my student to apply something. So for today class, that is considered as an application. But after the practice of say 10 to 12 days after the performance of that activity, if I want my students to apply that learned knowledge, that application need to be a higher order. So in that particular situation, when the students already know that information, once the students are able to apply that information, now that application become their understanding. So from that particular level, I need to increase the level of my activity. The point is, when we said the class need to be full of activities where students practice things. So whenever I'm designing activities for my students, gradually I need to increase the level of those activities also. Maybe in the very first class, I ask my class students to define something and they are not able to do this. So after providing them that definition, my students are able to remember that definition. My students are able to remember some of the formulas required for that particular subject, and even they are able to apply those formulas. So when the students are able to understand the content, they know the fundamentals, they know how to apply. Now as a teacher, I need to design such a statement for my students where they are able to create something, where they are able to synthesize the information that is being learned by them. So when we said there must be learning by nature is an active endeavor, I need to consider that day by day, I also need to increase the quality of that activity so that my students need to think beyond the information that is being provided to them. Because as a faculty up to application level, my students already practiced all those kind of things. Now I want my student to create something. So gradually I also need to create some of the activities where the students practice again and again. So in an cooperative and collaborative classes, we consider that every individual has a different learning styles based on their past experiences, based on their level, and based on the experiences that is being provided by the faculty. And when it comes to learning, I need to create activities for my students where they practice, and gradually I will increase the quality of my activities so that I compel my student, I force my student to apply that learned knowledge in a different situation. So accordingly, I need to design some of the classes. According to the learning pyramid also, when we said teach others, so according to the literature in one of the slides we have seen, they said when the students are teaching other student, or when the students are immediately using that learned information, it is possible for the student to retain that information approximately up to 90%. So average retention time is going to be increased. When I involved my students in a traditional lecture process, there is only a 5% of the information my students are able to retain. With the help of demonstration method, only 30%. Practice by doing means in laboratory environment also, my students are only able to retain 75% of the information. So there must be a mix of activities. There must be a variety of instructional strategies that I need to use for my students. So according to the Bloom's taxonomy, as a faculty, I need to develop first the lower order thinking skills of my students. And once I'm sure that my students are able to remember, my students are able to understand, and my students are able to apply that learned information, there is a time for the more higher activities where my students will analyze, students will evaluate, and students will create. So when it comes to create, many of us think that creation means my student is able to produce something new. My student is able to do something new. There must be a creative idea. So when it comes to creation, I need to understand for a technical student, creation means that student is able to break the boundaries, that student is able to seize the assumption, and that student is able to take risk. So when it comes to creation, that may not be creative for the global environment, but that is creative for that candidate because that candidate is performing that activity for the very first time in his or her life. So depending upon the maturity level, I need to design the creation level of my student. If my student is able to apply formula for a very first time, or my student is able to design a prototype for the very first time in my laboratory, my student is creating that prototype. So that is creation for that candidate according to the level of the maturity. So started from the lower order thinking skills, I need to develop higher order thinking skills among my student by introducing variety of activities to my class students. So why we are in the need of using active learning strategies? There is a development of different communication skills among my student. It will help to understand the course material with an active participation, develop critical thinking skill, develop teamwork and interpersonal skills, enable students to show initiative and better meet the needs of the student with varying learning style, and increase students' motivation, investment, and performance. So this is the basic approach that we are going to use for the development of different cooperative and collaborative learning strategy. So in this session, I will provide you an overview of two of the different cooperative. One is cooperative and one is collaborative learning strategy. How to use these strategies in a blended classroom. Before we proceed further for this particular discussion, if any of the participant is have any question, they can simply write in a chat box. So dear participant, is there any question at your end? You are requested to kindly write in a chat box. So there is only one participant, Mr. Devi Prasad PS, said there is no such questions related to the content that we have covered till now. So when it comes to an active learning classroom, I also need to consider that there are certain barriers associated with these classes. So when it comes to using advanced pedagogical approaches, blended or a flipped approach, the teacher need to be expert in a content area, because these kind of approaches are a mixture of face-to-face teaching and an online teaching. And when we expose our students to an online learning environment where ample amount of information is available, your students are going to ask you n number of questions because there is a flow of information that is coming towards the student. When the student searching that information on an internet resources, maybe there are 10,000 different sites available. There are very good recorded lectures available on different platforms from where the student is getting that information. So as a teacher, I also need to be expert so that it is possible for me to clarify the doubts of my students. May be difficult to organize active learning experiences. So as a teacher, if I'm very much comfortable in delivering a lecture by using a traditional approach, it is not possible for me to organize learning experiences for my student. So as a faculty, I also need to have some sort of training where I'm providing with an information that how it is possible for me to divide my students into teams and group, and what are the different active learning strategy that can be incorporated in my specific branch. So that kind of information is required. Only then it is possible for the teacher to organize different kind of learning experiences for my students. Require more time and energy and may be stressful for a teacher, because when it comes to these kind of approaches, the content need to be prepared by the teacher itself. So when we said na that I'm going to provide notes on LMS or I'm going to provide you notes on Moodles, it means the content need to be prepared by the faculty. And what kind of content need to be prepared by the faculty? That is self-explanatory, where the student feel connected with that particular content. So when I'm writing that content for my student for a specific subject or maybe a topic given in a subject, I am not just providing reference material to my student. I am not copy pasting information from different internet resources. I need to develop my own content for my student. Initially, at institute level, maybe it is difficult, but after one or 1.5 year, it is possible for the team of the faculty to develop a self-explanatory content for the student, where the teacher will also embed some of the good references that are available. So it requires more time and energy, and it is stressful for the teacher. Teacher may receive less favorable evaluation for the students. When we engage our students in the process of lecture method only, what the students are doing, many of them are listening and some of them are just sitting idle just for the sake of the attendance or just for the sake of the marks. But in these kind of classes, we force our students to perform something. So the students will doing that activity while sitting into the class, and there is an evaluation that is being carried out by the faculty. So sometimes the faculty receive unfavorable feedback also from the students. Students may be stressed because of the necessity to adapt new ways of learning. So it is not only stressful for the teacher, but it is also stressful for the student. But in this particular scenario, when there is an online information resources available with the faculty, information, copy pasting an information and providing the same information again and again to the students that is already accessible by them, the classes are not result into learning. So to create learning, we need to involve our students in the process of learning. So there are certain ways by which it is possible for me to create an active learning classroom. So whenever I'm planning a lesson plan for my blended classroom, I need to go by this particular approach. So what is attainment of initial learning? So what kind of information that is required with the learner to perform that activity? So according to the level of the learner, the kind of past experiences they have, the kind of information delivered to them by their previous teachers within the institution, accordingly, initially by using that kind of approach only, the teacher need to design some of the goals for the students. And once the interpersonal relationship between a student and a teacher is developed, the teacher need to go for an advanced pedagogical approaches. So by understanding your learners, you are going to design different goals, and when the goal are being designed for your class student, the teacher need to decide what are the different instructional strategies that I'm going to use for my class student. Maybe for my bachelor level student, my teaching approach is different, but for my master's level student, I need to use a different kind of an approach. So depending upon the type of the student, I need to decide what kind of instructional approach is required for my student. Say there is an institute that is situated in a rural area, or an institute where most of the students are from the rural background. From the rural background, my mean is the students who are not well versed with the kind of technology that we are using nowadays in education system, or the kind of resources. Maybe you put information on a learning management system of your institute, and that student is not comfortable to assess that information because that kind of experience is not available with the learner. So depending upon the type of a learner, I need to identify what are the different ways by which it is possible for me to provide information to that candidate. So depending upon the class, I'm going to design different instructional strategies based on the goals defined by me. Then inquiry and expedition. So whenever I'm using a different instructional strategy for my student, as a faculty, I need to evaluate. Say I decided to give a PowerPoint presentation to my class student, and on the day of presentation, 70% of my class students were not available. It means those students are ignoring that activity. So maybe a different kind of activity need to be given to the students, or maybe I need to develop confidence among my students to speak something in front of other students. Then verification and synthesis. So when I'm performing that activity, is it possible for me to achieve those goals? And evaluation of learning. Whatever goals that we have decided for our class students, is it possible for them to achieve those goals? Say, for example, there is a innovation hub that is being created at your institute level, and there is no innovation that is being produced from the last 5 years. So at institute level, I need to evaluate whosoever the faculty engaged with that innovation hub, what kind of projects that is being given to the candidates, and what are the different teaching approaches used for the students that they are not able to do something new or do something for the society. So at institute level, we also need to focus upon all those issues. So when it comes to a cooperative and collaborative learning strategies, according to the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy that we have earlier discussed, started from the lower order abilities up to the creation level, there are different teaching strategies that can be utilized by the teacher. So for example, if I want my student to develop remembering and understanding, previously it is known as knowledge and comprehension. In the revised Bloom's taxonomy in 2002, these two terms are considered as remembering and understanding. So what are the different active learning strategies that can be utilized? This is 1 minute paper, note taking, muddiest point, 1 page lesson summarization, image analysis, concept map, open-ended question, another kind of graphical representation. For application part, there is think, pair, share, simulation, reciprocal questioning, numbered head together, visioning and featuring, analyze level, again, think, pair, share, peer review, list pros and cons, evaluation, case study, problem-based learning, project-based learning, even a concept map, creation, project-based learning. Now see, I said a concept map is an instructional strategy that I can use at remembering and understanding level. Concept map can also be utilized at application level. Concept map can also be used at evaluation level. So the teaching strategy is same. Concept map. When I'm using concept map for remembering and understanding, as a faculty, what I'm doing, I'm just providing a graphical representation of the content covered by the faculty for the student with the help of a graphical chart. So for example, I said, what are the different sources of pollution? What in that sources of pollution, what are the different man-made sources and natural sources? So I need to create a concept map. Say for example, air pollution. In a central node, there is a environmental pollution. What are the different types of pollution? These will be the sub nodes of that concept map. Air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution. So different types of land pollution, soil pollution. So these are the different types of pollution. Now, what are the factors responsible for polluting water bodies? Natural factors and man-made factors. So this kind of information is already known to the student. Many of the technical students already cover this kind of concept in their previous classes. So as a faculty in a civil engineering branch, when I already know that most of my students are able to pass through the examination of environmental sciences, I need not to explain them again and again what is water cycle, how much percentage of water is available on earth. So that kind of information is already available to them. So I will simply provide them a concept map where they can brush up their knowledge, their remembering and understanding. By seeing that graphical chart only, my students are able to remember what are the different type of pollutions and what are the different man-made and natural sources responsible for the cause of pollution. So I'm using concept map for the level of remembering and understanding. At an application level, I want my students to generate ideas. So maybe a topic is being given by me. I simply create a concept map, the mother node on a blackboard. So one by one, the students will come to that board and provide some of the application, some of the content related to that topic that is being given to them. So my students are applying their learned knowledge. So I'm using a same instructional strategy for an application level. When I want my students to evaluate something, what they are doing, they are again creating a concept map. Say for example, I'm going to deal with, for my today class, I'm going to deal with the topic of review of related literature for my research methodology student. So I ask my students to create a concept map of their literature review depending upon the topic that is being selected by them. So my students try to not only write that information on a concept map. Literature review means they will synthesize information, they will evaluate that information and then come up to the conclusion. So my students are creating a concept map. Maybe a student said that initially there are 110 papers that have been identified by me. From every research article, there is a one idea that is being selected by me. So there is a nodes of ideas. So once the node is being created, then after compiling those nodes, the similar kind of information is being compiled by the student, and then another node is being created that what are the different key highlights given in that kind of a literature. So my students are evaluating that information and creating a concept map for the information that is being covered by them during that process of literature review. So when they are presenting their literature review, by just showing a concept map, the panel, experts in the panel, and even the students is easily able to understand that what is being done by the student in the literature review part. So same kind of instructional strategy can be used again and again depending upon the way the teacher is going to organize a class, depending upon the level of the students you have in your class, depending upon the kind of the resources you have in your class. It is possible for me to create a concept map by using pen and paper. There is a software available with the help of which it is possible for me to create a concept map within no time. So depending upon the sources also, the teacher is going to decide the different strategy. So there are individual techniques, cooperative techniques, and collaborative techniques. So when it comes to cooperative and collaborative, there is a contrast given in a literature. Some of the strategies, some of the researcher considered a strategy as a cooperative strategy, and other researcher consider that instructional method as a collaborative strategy. After reading the literature review, I come to the conclusion that when the group size is for 3 or 4 candidates, they consider that strategy as a cooperative strategy. But if the group size is large, more than 5 to 6 candidates in a group, they consider the same strategy as a collaborative strategy. But in case of cooperative and collaborative strategy, another important thing they consider the maturity of the students. If the learners are immature, for first and second semester student, when they are using the strategy, they consider it as cooperative strategy. But for the matured learners, they consider that strategy again as collaborative strategy. Individual strategies, exercises used for individual students without disturbing the flow of lecture, that require less time and effort both in preparation and practice. So when it comes to an individual active learning strategy, in the initial phase of my discussion, I asked to the participant that whether it is possible for you to change your traditional lecture into an active lecture, and many of the participants agreed that it is possible. Some of the participants said by the use of quiz. Quiz is for the purpose of evaluation. It will increase the retention rate of the students because we are giving him or her a large break. So when it comes to convert your traditional lecture into an active lecture, there are certain strategies available with us. Say for example, you have covered the content to your class student and now you ask different examples from your student. The students will provide examples maybe from their real life, or maybe after reading a content and after understanding the content only the students are able to provide you with an information. So that is an individual technique where we are engaging our students in the process of learning. What do you do next? 1 minute paper. Muddiest point means the most complex point. Voting, 1 page lecture summarization, paraphrasing, list pros and cons, and daily or weekly journal. So these are some of the strategies that we are able to utilize for individual teaching. Cooperative active learning strategies is a systematic, active and pedagogical strategy that encourages small group of students to work together for the achievement of a common goal. There are number of cooperative strategies like numbered head together, visioning, futuring, zigzag, concept map, think, pair, share. Collaborative learning strategies are a broader range of group interaction, such as developing learning communities, stimulating student-faculty discussion, and encouraging electronic exchange. So collaborative learning strategies are basically for more matured learners whose social skills are already developed. So my purpose as a faculty is to create a learning community. That learning community can work offline, that learning community can work online, and there are different types of learning communities that the teacher can create. So after lunch, we will discuss what are the different types of learning communities available nowadays. So in collaborative learning strategies, in most of the approaches, there is a demand of integration of technology. So some of the open educational resources are available with the students, with the faculty. They can use it for free for the integration of technology in their teaching learning process. So various collaborative strategies are fishbowl method of discussion, stump your partner, case study, problem-based learning, and Blackboard share. So what is the difference between cooperative and collaborative active learning strategy? So from the literature, I come to the conclusion that cooperative learning strategy, we consider the group sizes of 3 to 4 students. Collaborative learning means any situation in which this group of students can work, the teacher need to identify such kind of opportunities for the students. Second is group work toward the common goals such as positive interdependence, individual accountability, and heterogeneous grouping. Students receive training in small group social skills. So in cooperative learning strategy, we consider that till date, the social skills among learners are not developed. So we create such kind of environment where social skill is going to be developed. Maybe while delivering the content, the teacher is designing activities in such a way that there is a facilitation at the part of the teacher. So we consider that there is a heterogeneity available in a group. So for a heterogeneous mixture, we need to design activities for our class students. There is the belief that students already have the necessary social skills that they will build on their existing skills in order to reach their goals. Say for a 7th semester or for a 8th semester student, when I design activities for my class student, when I involve them in a project based kind of a learning, I consider that the social skills are already developed. So I consider that my student social skills are already developed, so I go for a collaborative learning strategies. Activities are structured. In case of cooperative learning, say for example, you want your students to engage in the process of blended learning. So whatever model you are using for a blended learning, in some of the blended learning model approaches, the teacher will design activity specification for the student. So when my students will work offline, when my students will integrate technology, when my students will use the technology while sitting in a remote location, so the whole activity specification will be designed by the teacher and student is simply following that activity specification. So that is a kind of cooperative learning approach the teacher is utilizing. In case of collaborative learning strategies, the students are free to use. The students are free to decide that when I'm going to learn offline, when I'm going to learn online. So the students organize and negotiate the skills. So when it comes to a collaborative learning strategy, if the teacher is designing a group-based activity for the student, in this particular case, the student will decide how the group wants to proceed. So the student will negotiate the different roles within that group only. So for example, on an online learning platform, the teacher is design a discussion for the students. Now it is up to the discussion is not graded one. So it is the student who is going to decide that whether I'm going to participate in that discussion or not. In cooperative learning strategy, the teacher observe, listen, and intervene in a group when necessary. So, say for example, in a blended learning approach, there is one model that is station rotation model, where the teacher will provide direct instruction to the student, and after a specific period of a time, the students will work on an online platform, all in the presence of the faculty. So in this particular case, by using this particular model, it is possible for the teacher to intervene. So when the students are working in group, the teacher will observe those students, and if necessary, the teacher will provide them the corrective actions. The activity is not monitored by the instructor. When the questions are directed towards the teacher will guide the students to the information needed. So for example, there are learners who are just sitting on an online learning platform and the course is being floated to them, and course need to be completed in a 8-week duration. So whatever the problem that is being faced by that candidate, either the candidate is going to write it on the discussion form, or the teacher can simply email to the faculty or to the instructor, and instructor will provide clarification. As a faculty, I'm not going to ask to my students that is there any difficulty that is being faced by you, what content, what information need more elaboration or explanation at your part. If my student asks me to do so, I will provide an information. Student will, when it comes to cooperative learning strategies, it is basically for immature learner where they need to submit activity on time because feedback is essential for their submitted activity. But in case of collaborative learning, maybe for the very first time the students is not able to submit an excellent work, there is opportunity given to the student that they can reproduce this work again and again. So this is the basic difference between cooperative and collaborative learning strategies. So my dear participants, there are n number of cooperative and collaborative learning strategies available with us, and it is a 1-week course. So at NITR Chandigarh, will provide 1-week duration course specifically on these kind of strategy, where we discuss that numbered head together, think, pair, share, zigzag, concept map, brainstorming, case study, role play, fishbowl method of discussion. So there is a much elaborated discussion that is required as far as the different individual cooperative and collaborative learning strategies are concerned. So since in blended learning approach, we are simply going by most of the time, we are simply going by a group based of teaching. So today I will provide you information about one of the cooperative, collaborative teaching strategy, that is fishbowl method of discussion. Why I have selected this particular strategy? Because in technical institution, many of the faculty members consider group discussion as a teaching approach. That is not true. Many of the faculty members already using case study method, role play method, inquiry based learning, project based learning, or problem based teaching approaches. So I consider that most of us already know about many of the teaching strategies. Since this particular strategy is new, I would like to provide you an overview of this particular strategy. So when it comes to a fishbowl method of discussion, it is considered as a collaborative learning approach. So when I said collaborative learning approach, it means I am going to use this particular strategy for matured learners. So maybe started from the 5th semester, I'm going to use this kind of approach. I consider the social skills among my students are already developed. They are ready to work in group, and they are easily cooperative and collaborating with each other as far as the performance of that activity is concerned. It can be easily incorporated in a body of the lecture. So there are certain models in blended learning where a direct instruction by the faculty along with an activity is required. In that particular case, it is possible for the teacher to use this method. It can be carried out in 2 different ways depending upon the type of the students you have at your institute level. So in a fishbowl method of discussion, there is the first requirement is, as a teacher, you need to identify learners who are excellent in their work. So that small group need to be identified by a teacher first, and then isolate that group of the students from the rest of the participants. When it can be used, this particular strategy can be used as an alternative to the traditional debates. So instead of group discussion, we will go by this kind of an approach, substitution of a panel discussion also. The purpose is a development of a participation among the students, to address different controversial topics also, and to avoid lengthy presentations by the students in your class. What kind of questions that need to be framed by the faculty? The very first is the open-ended discussion. So say for example, as a teacher, I know that this particular content is already known to my students. So no need to spend my whole class for this particular topic. So I design an open discussion for my student. In the subject of energy management, I simply ask my student that why there is an energy crisis. And once the discussion is continuing by the student, the input will be provided with me. So the unit 1 will be covered. What are the some reasons that we do not use more solar energy to reduce our dependence on oil? So for open discussion also, it is possible for me to design this teaching strategy. For controversial discussion also, I am going for a fishbowl method of discussion rather than going for a group discussion approach. How we implement this teaching strategy? The very first step is divide the student in group and share the list of the topics. Each group prepare a given topic, or if the teacher considers so, the teacher can provide number of topics for a group and give them a sufficient preparation time. Set up a fishbowl. So how we are going to create a fishbowl? We need to have a movable furniture in our class. So we can make a circle kind of arrangement for our class students for sitting. So set up table in the center of the class with few chairs and arrange the remaining chairs in the outer circle around that table. So the group of the students who are excellent in their work, they will create an internal circle. Rest of the class students will create an outer circle. According to the literature, the inner circle is considered as fish and the outer circle is considered as bow. So there are two different types of fish balls that we can create. One is a closed and another one is an open fish ball. As far as closed fish ball is discussion, in the inner circle, the number of students will be identified by the teacher and they will remain active throughout the discussion. So not even a single student is allowed to move from the outer cycle to inner cycle. This is closed fishbowl arrangement. In case of open method, there is a one seat that is left vacant. Any students who think that he or she can become the part of the discussion, he or she can occupy this seat. So that kind of sitting arrangement is considered as fishbowl. Since the topic is being distributed among the students by the teacher and preparation time is also given to those students, when the students will come to the class, the teacher will pose a question to the student. It can be an open-ended question, it can be a closed-ended question. So whatever information that is being collected by an inner cycle student, the teacher will ask the question and inner circle student try to identify an answer and start doing discussion. When the inner circle students are discussing that content, rest of the students are making notes of that particular discussion. So if there is any clarification required at the part of the outer cycle student, the faculty is always there to provide them clarification, and the outer cycle student can also ask question to the inner circle student to develop their level of understanding. As far as the inner cycle students are concerned, there must be equal opportunities among the group members. So each and every candidate of the inner circle will provide input related to the content. Sometimes when this kind of approaches have been used for the learner, some of the students are asking question just for the sake of the question. In this particular situation, the teacher need to be observant enough and teacher need to provide a facilitative kind of environment for the class. So these closed fishbowl discussion or open fishbowl discussions can be organized for our technical students as far as the content information is concerned. So outer cycle students, when preparing notes, those notes will help the students to consider. So rules for fishbowl, all members of inner circle group will participate during the discussion. Once the topic or the time allocated have been covered, the teacher should summarize the discussion and open the floor for debriefing. During the debriefing, the teacher must review the key points, interesting comments, and group feeling regarding the particular issue. Participants must be allowed to develop their conclusions and express themselves freely. So these are some of the advantages of fishbowl: facilitate dialogue between the group, exposes the knowledge of each other, and expand the collective understanding of a subject matter. So instead of using group discussion again and again, this kind of collaborative teaching approach, that is fishbowl method of discussion, can also be utilized for our class students. So dear participants, these are some of the references that I have used while preparing this PowerPoint presentation. Now the house is open for any question, any clarification that is required at your part.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
It's a very informative session, ma'am. But wouldn't have it been more better if you would have incorporated the flipped classroom and blended classroom concept within this lecture? Because the lecture that you have given is of 1.5 hours, and as per you, we are just going to retain 5 or 10% of it.
Yes,
So,
because sir, in the next session after lunch, we are going by blended learning only. As far as this particular platform is concerned, where we are imparting information to all of you, this is the only provision we have. We are not able to provide hands-on experiences to our faculty. As far as these kind of courses are being concerned, if this particular course is being organized at NITR Chandigarh, so rather than delivering an information, I designed some of the activities for my faculty members where faculty will work within the group. So in a student-centered method of instruction course, the full course is equipped with activities only. And when the students are performing activity, faculty members are performing activities, at that point, we introduce them with the new kind of a technology or new kind of pedagogical approaches, because since the platform is asynchronous, it is not possible. As far as blended learning is concerned, after lunch, we are going to provide information about what we mean by blended learning, what are the different blended learning models available with the faculty.
no, my point was that it's been a lecture of 1.5 hours, right? And whatever the discussion has been from since yesterday, it's been that we need to incorporate topics to include our students actively. So I guess all of us over here, faculty members, I do feel that we are much at a higher level than our students that we are teaching, right? You'll agree
That
to
is,
that.
yes, sir.
So
That is what I'm
it would have been
saying.
far more important and active if you could have, because it's only preaching. It's not been incorporated in the session, right? You're only just telling us it's kind of giving a lecture on PPT instead of the whiteboard, right?
Yes.
How does it help us?
Sir, that is what I'm saying to you. In this particular platform, since it is an asynchronous learning, if I allow Manisha to unmute all the participants and ask them to present, you know, when I'm delivering this particular session, 2 or 3 times, we also face many kind of disturbances. So in this particular platform, it is not possible for me to create such kind of experiences for my faculty member. I know we all are experienced enough to interact with each other, but once we interact on an online learning platform, there are certain restrictions on all of us. So it is not possible for us to create such kind of experiences. In the next session, you asked about there must be a flipped kind of approach or a blended kind of approach. In the next session, there is one activity that is being planned for all of you, where you now have an information about what are the different cooperative and collaborative learning strategy. In the next session, we will provide you an information about what we mean by blended learning approach and what are the different blended learning approach. After that session, we will provide you an activity that now you have to create a lesson plan after selecting a subject of your choice for your area. So maybe through email, I'm not again going to discuss that activity online because it will be a disturbance for the rest of the candidate. So through email, you need to submit that activity to us and then we will provide you the feedback. So on what way we are conducting classes, we also need to consider those infrastructure approaches also.
Yeah. Madam, just adding to your this one, I just wanted to inform the participants. See, dear participants, one is understand. I know all of us are experienced, but what we have to first understand is the clear intention and the background of any concept before actually we implementing it. So it is not a loss to understand the theory before we do it. So actually, unfortunately, in many of the cases, what we do is I have seen many of you are using Moodle, Canvas, everything, but you don't know what exactly you are doing. So unfortunately, we don't have a B.Ed kind of education in engineering field to teach.
Sir,
And
I'm sorry to disrupt you.
psychological aspect and hello.
In the meantime, if any of the participants
Hello?
having another question, they are most welcome.
So just I wanted to wind up that it is very important for the people who want to practice such kind of teaching. So because unknowingly doing things are different and knowingly doing things are different, which will be more fruitful. So these sessions, we have made it, we have actually prepared the lectures in such a way that everybody gets a clear theoretical background of the concepts or the pedagogy that has been proposed. And these are all actually taught very well in B.Ed education. Please understand, unfortunately, we are not in that process of B.Ed education. So therefore, I request the participants that you have to encourage and understand the motto behind such kind of lectures and be patient enough. And you may not understand it now. When you actually implement, you will try to understand the issues in a much better way. So with this note, I would like to end this session. And again, madam, we will see you back at 2:30.
Fine, sir. So thank you very much, sir. We will meet
Hello?
again at 2:30.